Since the 1970s, the numbers of salmon returning back to the UK's rivers from the Atlantic has declined by 70%. That's according to SAMARCH, a new project which is launched today. Its aim is to provide new information when it comes to decision making on salmon and sea trout in estuaries and the coastline.
Numbers of salmon returning to our rivers have declined by around 70% over the last 30-40 years. And this is having a big impact in terms of reducing the conservation status and also with regards to the numbers of fish available for anglers to catch. They're an iconic species, and what we're trying to do is try and investigate the reasons why they've declined so markedly over this period.
The Game and Wildlife Conservation Trust have become the lead partners in the research project, which has been partly funded by the EU's Interreg programme. Dylan says the project will help to understand the high rates of deaths amongst salmon and sea trout.
Only around about 5% of the young salmon that leave our rivers return as adults, so 95% of them die at sea. Salmon do go on a very long migratory journey from the south coast all the way up to the Greenlands, the Faroe Isles, North Atlantic, and then back to the rivers of their birth. So one of the big things that this project will deliver is a better understanding of where that 95% mortality occurs. Is it in the estuaries or is it out at sea?
The project will use new technology, putting two different types of tags on fish. Dr. Rasmus Lauridsen is the head of fisheries research at the Game and Wildlife Conservation Trust, and he says the new technology is vital to the research.
This new technology is enabling us to look better at, is it happening in the immediate coastal areas, and if it is, where in that area is it happening, and once we have knowledge of that, then we can potentially take measures to protect them better. But we don't know what the loss rate at the moment is in these areas, so that's one of the key things that we're trying to work out.
But how does it all work?
One of them is an acoustic tag, we call them, which basically pings a signal. Here am I, I'm individual Bob. And when it comes within the range of receivers that we put out throughout the estuaries, it'll get detected and we'll know that Bob has gone past point A at such and such a time and past point B at such and such a time. And Bob didn't make it to point C because we didn't detect him there. And the other type of technology we're going to use is a different tag that records the the body temperature of the fish, which is the same as the water temperature, because they're cold-blooded individuals. So what is the temperature and the environment they're in?
SAMARCH is a cross-border project with 5 teams from France and 5 teams from England working on the project. It'll run for 5 years, and Rasmus says the only way they can protect salmon and sea trout at sea is by knowing more about them.
The end goal is to try and protect these species best we can at sea, and the only way that we can try and increase the survival while they're at sea is to have better knowledge about where they are and where we're losing them currently, and only by gathering this information and distributing that to the bodies that regulates things at sea, are they actually able to better protect these species.
The project launched on Tuesday with the hope of halting the big numbers of deaths amongst salmon and sea trout. Daniel Padwick, That's TV.